Hi, this is Tamara from mooglyblog.com, and in this video, I'm going to be demonstrating how to crochet the Tie One On Crochet Head Tie, Skinny Scarf, and Belt. With less than one skein and just 4 rounds, you can make this piece with a ton of different ways to wear it. So this is a piece where you can add your creativity. To make it, I used a USH 5mm crochet hook. This one happens to be by Furls. I also used approximately 90 yards of Universal Yarn Asonde, which you can see right here. This is what I have left, and this is what I used. I just had the one skein. This is a number 3 or lightweight yarn, and it's 100% silk. This is the Heatwave category. This pattern features custom sizing. So the stitch multiple for this pattern is 3 plus 1 plus the turning chain if needed. That said, we're going to start with foundation stitches, so we don't need a turning chain. Each repeat of this pattern adds 0.875 inches to the length of the project after it's blocked. As written, the full length scarf, belt, or head tie is 40 inches long with that row 1 stitch count given. Again, you can then lengthen it to whatever length you need for your project and add additional skeins if necessary. The finished width, no matter the length, is approximately 2.5 inches. So this pattern begins with row 1 and 130 foundation double crochets. If you would prefer to avoid using the foundation double crochet, there are instructions on this in the written pattern. To make the foundation double crochet, I do have a separate tutorial, but we'll go over it a little bit here. I've already put the slip knot on my hook, and now I'm going to chain 2. There we go. Then I'm going to yarn over and insert my hook in that first chain I made, the one right next to the slip knot. Make that yarn out from under my elbow. There we go. Now I can yarn over and pull up a loop through that chain. Now, those 2 chains are not going to count as a stitch, they're just our turning chain. That loop that I just pulled up through the chain will count as the foundation chain at the bottom of our first double crochet. So now I'm going to yarn over and pull up 1 loop through that foundation chain, and now I'm going to finish my double crochet. Yarn over and pull through 2, and yarn over and pull through 2. I do recommend using stitch markers whenever you have them available. In this pattern, I'm going to go ahead and put a stitch marker right in the top of that first stitch right there. That way I'll know when I come back around where to stop and that those are my 2 turning chains. So now to continue the rest of the row, I'm going to yarn over again and find the stitch at the bottom of the previous stitch, that foundation chain, those 2 loops right down here. I'm going to insert my hook, yarn over and pull up a loop. Take the time to pull that loop up to the height of the other 2 stitches already on your hook. Yarn over and pull up 1 through this foundation chain, and then finish the double crochet. Yarn over and pull through 2. Yarn over and pull through 2. Let's make a couple more together. We yarn over, find the 2 loops at the bottom of the previous stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop to make the foundation chain at the bottom of our new stitch. We yarn over and pull up 1 loop through this foundation chain, and then finish our double crochet. Yarn over and pull through 2, and yarn over and pull through 2. So you keep doing this until you have a total of 130 stitches, or you've worked to a multiple of 3 plus 1 with about the length that you desire. Now here I have crocheted 10 stitches, which is a multiple of 3 plus 1. So this is the size I'll be using for our little demonstration swatch today. After you've finished row 1, we're going to go ahead and turn, and from here on out, we're going to work on in rounds from this side. So our first stitch for round 2 is a chainless starting double crochet. And this is just personally my preferred double crochet substitute instead of using a chain 3 for the turning chain and first double crochet of the row. If you would prefer to use a different double crochet substitute or stick with a chain of 3, that's totally fine too. To make this chainless starting double crochet, I'm pulling up my hook to the height of a double crochet stitch. I'm going to secure the top of this loop on my hook with my finger. This part's very important. We don't want the loop to be able to move around on our hook because we're going to yarn over with the loop itself. Then we insert our hook right into the top of that first stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, then yarn over, pull through that loop and behind the big yarn over. Then we can finally release the top of that loop to yarn over and pull through 2. Again, I do have a separate video tutorial for this on the Moogly YouTube channel. if you'd like to take a closer look. Since we're starting a new row, I'm going to go ahead and add my stitch marker right there to the top of the first stitch. Stitch markers are almost always optional, but I find they just make keeping track of things a whole lot easier. So with that chainless starting double crochet or double crochet substitute made in the first stitch, we are going to chain 2, 1, 2, skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, and then double crochet in the stitch after that. And that is our repeat. Oop, that's going to take us down this row. Drop my yarn over there. Let's do that again here a couple times. We chain 2, 1, 2. We skip 2, 1, 2, and double crochet in the stitch after that. So you're going to do that all the way until you get down to the end of the previous row here. And you can see on our tiny little swatch, I'm already there. So when you skip those 2 stitches and double crochet, you should land in the top of that last stitch, which would have been actually the first stitch of the previous row right there. You can see that's where we ended up. We had our stitch marker right there, so we know we're in the right spot. Now, here in row 2, we're not quite done. We're going to keep working all the way around. So now what we're going to do is chain 2 and double crochet in the side of this first stitch we made back here. Now we've got those 2 chains that we made at the beginning of our foundation row, our turning chain, and that's a really easy place to put these 2 stitches if you'd like. We can just go right there into 1 and put a double crochet. And then we're going to do that again. Chain 2 and work another double crochet here in the side of that stitch. And then we're going to chain 2 again. So let's take a break here. That was a lot, and look at what we've done. We've got our chain 2, skip 2, double crochet down the side here. When we get to this very end and we've double crocheted in this last stitch, then we're going to turn and work into the side of the stitch. We chain 2, double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, and chain 2 again. And that's going to allow us to turn some more and start working into the bottom of those stitches. So the first place we want to work into is a double crochet right in the bottom of that first foundation double crochet we made. So if we look at it kind of from this angle, that last double crochet gets worked into 4 times. We worked into the top, twice into the side, and again into the bottom. Now we want to do that same stitch pattern here across our foundation chain. So again, we're going to chain 2, skip the bottom of the next 2 stitches, and double crochet in the bottom of the stitch after this. This is another reason I really enjoy using these foundation double crochet stitches for row 1, is they give us a really nice bottom of the stitch to work into. Looks just like the top of the stitch. So let's continue our repeat. We chain 2, skip 2, and double crochet in the next. There we go. Chain 2, 1, 2, skip 2, and double crochet in the next. Now, of course, here on my little swatch, that brings me all the way to the end. You'll probably have quite a few more repeats. Now, we want to do the same thing to this end that we did to this end back here. I'm going to pull up just a little bit more yarn. There we go. So, we start by chaining 2, and then we put a double crochet right in the side of this double crochet stitch. And this is just a regular stitch, so you can go ahead and split the stitch to get that in there. Then we chain 2 again, double crochet in the side of that double crochet again. You need to put it in that same spot this time, that's fine. Just want to get 2 double crochets in there, and then chain 2 again. And now we can join to that first stitch we made. So let me lay it out so it's a little bit easier to see here, because this is kind of a little guy and this yarn is a little bit darker. So there's our chainless starting double crochet. We chain 2, skip 2, double crochet in the next. We do that all the way till we can get to the end. We always have 2 chains in between our double crochets. We've got 2 double crochets worked in the end. Now we've worked back across that foundation chain. We've got our 2 double crochets in the end of this stitch. So now we're ready to join with a slip stitch to that first stitch we made of round 2. Just get right in there. Might have to take that stitch marker out. Doesn't want to cooperate with me today. But it still shows me exactly where I need to go. There we go. So with that slip stitch in there, we have finished round 2. Round 3 is super easy. It's all single crochets. So we start with a single crochet right in the top of that first stitch, the same one we joined to. And since these are single crochets and they're short, again, really great place to use a stitch marker. Help you keep track and let you know when you've gone all the way around so you don't accidentally start spiraling. Now, we've single crocheted in the first stitch there. So now we are at a chain 2 space. So we're going to work 2 single crochets in the chain 2 space. 1 and 2. And then single crochet in the next stitch. And that's it. All the way around for this one. We don't have to do anything special. We don't need to increase at the ends again. We just work 2 single crochets in each chain 2 space and a single crochet in the top of each double crochet all the way around. So here's what it should look like at the end of round 3. Of course, yours is probably quite a bit longer, but you can see that single crochet gave us a nice solid edge there, and I have joined with our slip stitch to the first stitch, and now we're ready for round 4, our final round. Once again, we're going to start here with our chain 1. I'm going to get my stitch marker out of the way, and we are going to work a series of stitches here right in this first stitch. So we start with a single crochet. And so I am going to go ahead and put my new stitch marker right in the top of my new stitch here. Old stitch marker, I guess. There we go. And now we are going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and work 2 double crochets in that same stitch. So there's 1 and 2. There we go. Now, we finish our repeat by skipping the next 2 stitches, 1 and 2, and then we do it again. Single crochet in the next stitch, chain 3, and work 2 double crochets in that same stitch. 1, whoop, and 2. Then we skip the next 2 stitches and do it all again. Let's do that one more time. Single crochet, chain 3, and 2 double crochets in the same stitch. 1 and 2. Make sure I land in the right spot there. There we go. Now, we are going to continue to do that all the way around. Again, we don't have to treat the ends any differently. This stretches out quite nicely. And you can see it creates this really lovely edging right here. And a little thing to help you keep track, make sure you don't get off track and skipping too few or too many stitches. That little grouping of stitches there, you can see, is always right above a double crochet, and it'll be the same thing on the other side, which we can see here in our finished Tie One On project. You can see that beautiful edging all the way around, and you can see here too, laid out flat, what it looks like all finished up, and what each of those repeats look like. Each one of these little sections right here, sort of a blank spot with a double crochet, that is one repeat of the pattern. And that is the part that, after you've blocked it out, should measure approximately 0.875 inches. I know that's kind of a weird number. It would have been cool if it ended up being exactly 1 inch. That would have been great for math, but that's what it ended up. I do recommend you block it a little bit. This one grew just a tiny bit with blocking from when I was crocheting it here. You can see it's pretty darn similar in size for sure, but it just helped it relax a little bit and evened out my stitches. So you can make this to any length you like. Like I say, we start here in the middle with row 1, and it's just any multiple of 3 plus 1, and then you can make it just as long as you like, and you can wear it as a hair tie. You can use it as a belt. You could certainly use a beautiful shawl pin to help tie that on, wear it as a skinny scarf. The great thing about this stitch pattern is that it does collapse quite nicely, so you are able to tie it on. And of course, with one skein of this yarn, you can make quite a bit of length. And that's how you make the Tie One On Crochet project. I hope you enjoy this pattern, and I hope you give it a try. It's got so many possibilities, from hair tie to belt to even a small little bookmark. Thanks so much for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.